Hello, Internet. It is I, Evil Apostate. I am coming to you from Novo, Illinois, where we are here with person of great renown, poet Lynn Pearson, who I have been told just may be Evil Apostate herself. So we are going to talk to her about what it means to be Evil Apostate. How are you doing, Caroline?
Oh, hi, honey. I've never heard of you, but I'm so happy to meet you.
Well, we have heard great deal about you because you are a troublemaker. And we know all about the troublemakers because we see them as people to admire, yes.
Oh, well, I love troublemakers, and I do not count them to be evil apostates. So thanks for all that.
Well, do you know what evil apostate is, what it means to be evil? Let me show you example of what it means to be evil apostate. For example, I think to myself, suppose I am passing a bakery on the side of the road and I notice rainbow sign in the window. What do I think as evil apostate? I think, I wonder if they use buttercream frosting or chocolate frosting. That's the only thing that I think. Whereas other people who are righteous may say, those evil people support the gays and I will not do the business with them. This is the difference between evil apostate and righteousness.
Oh, well, I'm a little confused because going past that pastry shop, the evil that would come into my mind is sugar.
Yes.
And I try very, very, very hard.
This is
staying from sugar because I know it poisons my beautiful spiritual body.
Oh, this is very true, very true.
Did I understand that there is a rainbow design here somewhere?
Rainbow design, well, when you are passing bakery and they are people who are loving and tolerating people all around them, then they are evil, yes? I am told from the church authorities that we should not allow them to taint the blessedness of my spiritual mind. That is how it has been for years. And we do not want to fall into the trap of tolerance. You have heard of the trap of tolerance, have you not?
Well, you know, I think there's been a misunderstanding somewhere.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Most of the people that I hang out with, even people in my own ward,
yes,
are very warm and open to our LGBT sisters and brothers.
How did that come to be? Because in the world that I grew up in, it was not that way. Like if the people come and they are trying to be open and loving, then they may be subject to church discipline. They may be told, hey, you cannot be in the youth leadership program, stuff like that. How do you make that change?
Well, yes, I understand that in some quarters that there are disciplinary councils happening for married gay people.
Yeah, the married gay people are not.
Personally, to be very sad.
Why do you say this? Why is this sad?
Because to my own personal point of view, and I have many friends who are in committed gay relationships, and I honor those relationships.
That makes you evil apostate. You know this, yes?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, you do not know, but you are evil apostate. You know, okay, so let's talk about what it means to be evil apostate. And I want to talk about the power of no. What is the power of no in your life? Like, how do you see the power of no? Does no have a power?
Well, sure. I own the word no.
What do you mean?
I say no to everything that I believe is not honest, true, desirable, and good in all ways.
But you decide for yourself what to say no to?
Of course I do. You know what? Hey, listen here.
Yes.
The kingdom of God is within you. Maybe even within you. Maybe even in this strange but lovely body.
Yes.
The kingdom of God is within me. That I know.
But who will tell you how to interpret the kingdom of God within you? You can't understand the kingdom within yourself, can you?
Of course I will. Of course I will. I have been given a divine connection so that the things that come into my experience, the things that I think of in my own mind, I am able to think about them, pray about them, see how they rest in my own heart. And in my heart is where the kingdom of God is. And that is where I receive the yes and the no for all the thoughts that I bring and the actions that I wish to make.
That is beautiful sermon. Okay, I'm going to compose myself. Okay, I am better. Okay. I have noticed, and the reputation of the Lynn Pearson is that you have a way of taking words and giving voice to the beautiful thoughts of people's hearts. And
I am dangerous like that.
this is true, because words can be very dangerous. Now, there are some words that I have come across that I was wondering if maybe you could help me to improve.
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay, so I was on the computer, I was on the internet, and you have heard of the Joseph Smith, yes?
Heard of Joseph Smith?
Yes.
Oh, indeed.
Yes. Now, there is letter that you will hear from Joseph Smith called Happiness Letter.
Oh.
You have heard of Happiness Letter?
Oh, I
Now,
have.
it is so beautiful. I will read to you the first part of the Happiness Letter, all right? Happiness is the object and design of our existence, and will be the end thereof if we pursue the path that leads to it. Good so far?
Very good so far. I have utilized that phrase. The best thing about Mormonism is that men are that they might have joy, and of course women are that they might provide it. But we will also add women to being here to have joy.
Yes.
And then also that statement that Brother Joseph made, that happiness is the design of our existence. I have known of that and held that as one of the good thoughts.
I agree. This is beautiful words. Like I was hoping to get your take on it, and so far we are doing really good, because Joseph, all the things that they say about him, he was a beautiful wordsmith, I think. Would you agree with this in many cases?
Yes, I would.
All right, let's keep going. Let's see here. Beautiful. If we pursue the path that leads to it. Now we're getting to some of the good stuff. All right, here we go. And that path is virtue, uprightness, faithfulness, holiness, and in keeping all the commandments of God. Are we doing good so far? Mm-hmm. Okay, now, of course, you and I know that you can say goodness and faithfulness and holiness, but whoever gets to control what defines those things gets a great deal of power, yes. So now you have made the case that we can control what those things are from within us, that God is within us. So what is holy, we see within ourselves. We make up our mind with our own conscience. Would you say that this is a good way to define holiness?
I think so.
Okay, well, let's keep going. I like the direction you're going there. All right, so now it gets interesting. We cannot keep all the commandments without first knowing them, and we cannot expect to know all or more than we know now unless we comply with or keep those we have already received. That is very interesting statement. It's basically saying that you must keep the commandments of God, but you have to keep listening for more commandments, and you have to obey the ones that you have already been given before you can get any more. Now, we're getting into some interesting territory there. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. That sounds like interesting and possibly troublesome territory.
Oh, troublesome. Where might the trouble lead? Like, how could these words be abused, do you think?
Well, as we know, people who have power,
yes,
and like to utilize their power, have sometimes had a temptation to use their power in a way that might supposedly benefit them in a way that they feel would be correct.
Oh, so you're
And
saying,
therefore there comes a possible problem.
yes, so he's saying that like you have to do what I have already told you, and then you will learn more of the mysteries of God, more of the commandments of God, and that makes it kind of difficult to hold your own conscience because somebody else is telling you what to do. But let's keep going. Let's see what we say. Oh, this is where this part really confused me because I am trying to figure out what is right and wrong, and I believe that there are right and wrong, and this kind of makes it weird. All right, let's go. That which is wrong under one circumstance may be and often is right under another. What do you think of that?
I think that there may be very, very few instances where that is true. For example,
Yes?
yes, if I were living in the Third Reich and the Green Police came to my home and said, "Are you harboring and her family?"
Oh, yes.
Or any other
And Frank.
person, and Frank, or any other Jewish person.
Yes.
I think that I would lie. I think at that time I would lie.
Because you have the virtue of honesty, but you also have the virtue of the respect for life and defense against tyranny, and those are higher virtues.
There are very few times, not frequent, very few times where you do have to make a decision between a higher good.
I'm loving this concept because this allows me to frame my morals in a way that provides a priority and a hierarchy. Let's keep going. All right. So that which is wrong under one circumstance maybe and often is right under another. God said, "Thou shalt not kill." At another time, he said, "Thou shalt utterly destroy." This is the principle upon which the government of heaven is conducted by revelation adapted to the circumstances in which the kingdom are placed. This is interesting. He's basically saying sometimes God says don't kill, and other times he says utterly destroy. What do you make of that? Like, when did God say to utterly destroy in a way that it was justified? I'm trying to think.
I don't know that God spoke specifically about it being absolutely necessary to contain Hitler. I
Yeah.
think that somehow or other, this awful thing had to have another awful thing come down to shut it up. And that was essential.
So you're saying that there may be times, for example, in self-defense or defense of the innocents, where it may be necessary to oppose violence with violence, which may even extend to ending of life, but that is to preserve higher priority of innocent life.
Sadly, on this fallen earth, that may be the case.
Okay, well, I understand that. That makes sense.
However,
yes?
there are times when God is blamed for destroying a people that I don't think that happened. For example, I don't think God said, let's see all these Midianites, wipe them out.
Oh, but you got to save the young ladies for the sex slaves.
Sure. Take a look at the bodies, destroy all the men, destroy the boys. Look at the bodies of the women, those who had known men, set them to the sword and kill them. The young virgins who had not known men, take them as your booty. They will be your slaves. I don't happen to believe that God said that, even though you can find that in the Old Testament. And see, that's where I'm getting at.
Yes.
We get this, and we get this, and we get that. And we have to take it inside of ourselves and say, wait a minute, does that sound like God? There are many places in the Bible that to me sound like God.
Yes.
And there are many places that do not sound like God.
It might sound like men.
Let us go through Leviticus and say,
Yes.
come on. We don't even have to go there. I think all of religion is a search for God. Sometimes finding God and sometimes not.
But then,
It's up to ourselves to say, yes, here we find something God.
oh my goodness, you are referring to the power of no. When you find something that you read, no matter where it comes from, even in the Bible, even in modern church leaders or authorities, if they tell you to do something or teach something which inside you believe is wrong, then you use the power of no to say, no, that's wrong, and you preserve a notion of divine influence in your life, which is free of those corrupting influences, even if they proclaim to come from someplace that is not corrupt. I am loving this, okay, but I am concerned because I'm worried about the direction this letter is going, because we have to remember this letter was written by a 30-something-year-old man attempting to persuade a 19-year-old girl to marry him illegally and secretly. So we have to be careful. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, whatever God requires is right, no matter what it is, although we may not see the reason of till long after the events transpire. Whatever God requires is right, no matter what it is, although we may not see the reasons thereof till long after events transpire. Okay, this is where it's getting really complicated. Like, what do you make of that? What do you make of that section? Is that beautiful thing, or is that thing that could potentially be abused?
Well, as I know a little bit about what's happening, it could be a setup.
A setup? What do you mean? Whatever God requires is right. So whatever, that means like anything that a man claiming to speak for God says to do is right and you should do it, yes?
That is the suggestion.
Is that something that allows room for this concept of keeping the power of God within yourself? Being able to say no to impositions that other people make against you?
Of course, it's the perfect example.
Wait, how do you mean? Tell me. Whatever God requires is right. Whatever God requires is right. But the prophet claims to speak for God. So if the prophet says, hey, 19-year-old girl, you need to marry me, don't tell my wife, don't tell your father, then that is right?
That particular prophet also said, sometimes I speak as a prophet and sometimes I speak as a man, and that opens a huge window.
Oh, this is
and
true.
The only way to deal with that is, how does it rest in my personal, eternal soul? No matter who is speaking to me, does it feel like God or does it not feel like God?
I'm going to cry. Okay. All right, evil apostate, get yourself together. All right, these are important principles that mean a great deal to me, because I read these things and I see them on their face value and my tummy curls up into a knot, because I think about, like, if my little daughter, evil apostate, were to be faced with this kind of thing with a big religious authority, I want her to be able to feel safe to stand by her own conscience in the face of overwhelming authority. And you just described a beautiful way to do that.
And there's nothing in this world more important than an individual standing by her or his own conscience in front of authority. Political authority,
yes.
Religious authority, any kind of authority.
Oh my goodness, this is good stuff. This is the exact sort of thing that made me to become the evil apostate, because I was just standing by myself, by my conscience, in the face of authority, doing things like tolerating the gays, and, for example, like dressing my daughter in like one of those shirts with the shoulder straps and not sexualizing her.
Bad, huh?
Yes, it was terrible. I even went so far as to consider the issues of importance in the world based on my own conscience rather than through the filter of gerontocracy in Utah. Oh, and I felt so bad.
Oh, I understand that you really felt some tremendous self-recrimination about all that. And I am so sad that you had to feel that.
But you are giving me a new way to think about things. You are telling me that my conscience and these things which have been driving me to reject that type of false authority are a new type of authority which is centered within myself. And I can feel good about that. I don't have to call myself evil apostate. Would you agree?
Please stop calling yourself evil apostate.
But no, the kids love the name evil apostate.
If being an evil apostate brings you joy, may you have joy.
Okay.
If being an evil apostate causes you to feel darkness inside,
no,
I would suggest there's a way out.
Really?
Because light. Light is the answer. And if something comes into your mind that is filled with light, and it registers in your heart with light, no matter who is saying anything on the outside, if you can feel the light and see the light showing you a path where you are doing only good,
Yes.
saying only kind and loving things, that is the path that you want. Who wants to be an evil apostate all their life?
But I felt so bad because, like, before I was big evil apostate, I would sit in the pews and I would read the scripture and I read the Doctrine and Covenants 132 and I read terrible things about Emma being destroyed if she doesn't be okay with the multiple wives with Joseph. And I just think to myself, if that is the injunction that I live under, I guess I'm evil because I cannot accept that. So I must be evil apostate.
You know what? I can't accept that either.
What?
No, I throw that away altogether.
But that can be like you wrote beautiful primary song that I sang all through my childhood.
Yes, I did.
And you are evil apostate?
No, I am not an evil apostate. I hold to everything that is true, honorable, virtuous, and of good report. And I have found for myself personally that, that section that you're talking about, section 132 in the Doctrine and Covenants,
Yes.
that's a very troublesome section. There may be some truth in that, in speaking in general of the beauty of the eternal marriage commitment. But that whole part that gets into polygamy, I speak only for myself because I am one person, but I have my own light into my mind. I have my own heart. And I know with all my mind and my heart that dear brother Joseph, whom I admire a great deal for so many things, he was a man who also made errors. And it's too bad that the largest error that brother Joseph made was bringing polygamy into Mormondom as the word of God. And if you want to know more, evil apostate, I have written a book that I hope you will find. It's called The Ghost of Eternal Polygamy, Haunting the Hearts and Heaven of Mormon Women and Men. And it shows primarily the huge distress, the pain, the weeping in the night that current Mormon women go through. And men too, because it's not that polygamy is great for men and bad for women. That's not it at all. And giving up polygamy in the late 1900s was, of course, an important, essential step. But the polygamy itself has never been disavowed. Polygamy itself has never been excommunicated. Polygamy itself is given an honored place at the table. Polygamy itself haunts every marriage in Mormondom, whether they know it or not. It is somewhere hiding in the back of the mind, especially of the young women who say, "Oh, I know if I die young, surely my husband will be sealed to another woman, and I am therefore forever bound to live a life of plural marriage." I have spoken to so many young women who weep, who have even gotten sick, physically sick.
I remember from the guy's perspective, I was like, I don't know if I don't know, it's tough enough for me to manage the complex emotional landscape of a real relationship with one woman. Trying to do that with many, it seems impossible.
Right, and sometimes a good man who finds it difficult to develop a relationship with his wife, and that is, a difficult territory.
Yes.
Somehow finds a kind of a slipping out the window, at least of his mind, thinking, well, at least in the eternities, I'm going to have somebody easier and better than her. And that gets in the way of full commitment.
Absolutely, because then it's like, I'll just tolerate this until the next life, and then I'll have like thousands of other wives.
Right. Or you can find many instances of a man just deciding, well, I'm going to have polygamy sometime, I'll just do it now. And that's his rationale, and that leads to tremendous damage. I cannot find one thing of goodness that Mormon polygamy has ever led to.
Oh, no. I was told specifically that the polygamy was to take care of the widows.
I'm sorry, you were told wrong.
What?
You were told wrong.
What?
Wrong.
Was there not a single widow who was taken care of?
No, the demographics of our history show that there has never been more women than men, and especially in the times when polygamy was being utilized.
But what about now? Like, I hear that there are more men leaving the church than women. So now there's 7 worthy women to every man, and the man gets to pick up the litter. You could polygamize things now, and we go right back to the goodness, yes.
You know, that does present a problem of having a disparity right now in active Mormon women and active Mormon men. I don't think anybody is going to find today that polygamy is the answer for that.
Probably true. Now, this is the book you are referring to, yes?
That's it. I love this book.
Tell me a little bit about this book.
I spent a lot of time working on this. Pardon me?
Now, I understand that you had internet survey where you queried people on the internet.
I had known for so many years because of my own personal experience.
Yes.
And because of stories that came to me, as soon as I became a writer, I began to get letters from women telling me their stories. And polygamy was one of the major threads of sorrow that they brought to me.
Now, you're a Mormon writer, so every time you write a book, you submit it to the church so the brethren can approve, yes?
Not on your life. That's never, ever happened. However, I did send a copy of this book to each general authority, signed by me, to him by name, and one signed to his wife by name. And so it's my hope that there have been conversations going on in high places about this, because the pain that exists out in the church in general is embarrassing, unacceptable, and must be handled.
But how can we fix, like, what would the church need to do in order to, like, repair that wound?
Well, at the end of this book, I actually give a recipe for 3 things. And I know I'm a very uppity woman.
You presume to tell the brethren what to do?
I do.
There were people in the 1940s and 1960s who presumed to tell the brethren what to do. They were evil apostates who said things like, oh, we should treat the black people like equals, and we should, get rid of the messaging of the curse. They were evil apostates then, but apparently now they're justified and exonerated. Do you think you will be justified and exonerated?
Of course.
And what are the recipes that you give?
And see, my qualifications that I bring here is 1, I am a woman.
This is very evident. You are an amazing woman.
We are not, that is not something that generally our leadership.
They don't listen to the women.
That's true. Well,
Yes.
Sometimes they do. They sometimes, and I know that these are good men who want to do the right thing. Our traditions are so locked that
Yes.
it's very difficult to address them.
No,
But
very true. But they got Uchtdorf, he's the silver fox, the ladies like him, he must like the ladies, he's going to listen to them, he's got the German accent.
We will hope so.
Yes.
Hope so. He's a fine man, and I think all of the men in authority are good men who want to do the right thing. And it is up to us women to tell them
Yes.
what we need.
Exactly.
To tell them that the pain that still exists in our lives, in our homes, in our marriages, because of the ongoing ghost of eternal polygamy.
Well, I know how this is because even in my male evil apostate way, I try to understand the plight of the woman, but I have never been able to understand the depth and complexity of it, as well as when I talk to other women who have experienced it, or when I listen to you and see the stories that you have collected. So I certainly hope that they take the wisdom that you have given them into consideration for their future policies.
That is to be hoped. And another word on what your question about. Yes, I did put out an internet survey asking for people to give their opinions on the inequality in the sealing practices in the temple.
Yes.
And stories about the influence that polygamy still has on our lives as far as something that we are promised, sometimes threatened, will be our lot in the eternities.
Men use that as a threat today? against their wives now?
Oh, yes. A man who has a susceptibility to a big ego or is threatened in any way can bring that up to his wife. You better be doing what I ask you to do, or you will not be my favorite wife in heaven.
That is the worst kind of evil. Like, how can you have a real relationship with that in the room? That's like the big gorilla in the room.
Absolutely.
I would hate to be a woman under that chain.
There are 100 variations.
And those stories are in this book?
There are many stories in this book. On day one, when we put out the survey, I was hoping maybe 300 or 400 people had taken it. And I called and asked my person who was helping, and he said, wow, today there were 2,400 people who took this survey.
On the first day?
On the first day.
Oh, wow.
And by the time we shut the survey down 4 weeks later, over 8,000 people had taken the survey.
Hold on a second. I thought because it was the word polygamy and ghost, I thought this book was going to be a bunch of stuffy old stories about women in petticoats from the 1800s.
No.
You're telling me this is like modern stories from today about women today dealing with trauma from polygamy, even though it's not practiced?
There are stories from the past.
Yes.
There are stories about Joseph's wives. There's stories about Emma. There's a story about my great-grandmother who said no to polygamy.
No, she said no.
But the thing that I have brought, that nobody so far has brought to the table, are these contemporary stories from women and men today. And from a young girl, a 15-year-old girl who said, please don't stop what you're doing. I've been studying polygamy for several years. She's only 15. She said, please don't stop what you're doing. We have to get rid of polygamy.
Oh my goodness.
So yes, I went through all of these stories, and over 100 of them are represented here in these pages. And I do urge everyone to read this book. I urge everyone to give a copy to your bishop, to your stake president, to that 70 that you happen to know. Because this is something that must change. We are long over the time when it is acceptable to utilize women in a way. And this polygamy is a utilization of women to help their man build the kingdom by numbers. That's why one of the reasons it was established in the first place for these men in Nauvoo and after, to build their kingdom so they would be a god with numerous progeny.
Oh my goodness.
So we can close the door on some of those things in the past.
Yes.
But we cannot close the door on the fact that women, Mormon women, not talking about Warren Jeff's women, we're talking about LDS women today,
yes,
who weep in the night often. Even when they love their dear husband and he loves her, they report to me in these stories, sometimes when we're in our most intimate situations, my heart retracts because I have this fear that sometime after I'm dead and he marries somebody else, or in the next life, if we are called to live polygamy, I will be watching him have this same kind of intimacy with other women, and that breaks their heart. Here and now, on this plane where there should be a joyful one-on-one marriage. This is one of the things that causes difficulty in marriages.
Thank you so much for all the work that you are doing to give voice to that pain. All right, I have been given the signal that it is time to wrap up. Again, I am so grateful. I will not dub you fellow evil apostate because I know that is not how you frame yourself. But we know that we both subscribe to the love of the voice within and the power of the voice within.
We do, and sweet dear evil apostate, you can get a new name, you know.
Not the new name you're thinking of.
No. But you can join me in saying yes to the church for its wonderful things,
yes,
and no to the things that are hurtful.
Yes,
you have the intelligence, I have the intelligence and the heart, and everyone who is listening, remember The kingdom of God is within you. You. And so it is.
I can say nothing better. Goodbye, Internet.